I have 7 o'clock, so why don't we get started? We'll do just a couple of minutes if you don't mind. This is Michael Mahalski of of a little of etiquette for the class. I would ask everyone to mute your microphones, uh, except you, Rachel, of course. We'll need you. That's there. And uh, if you have questions, if you would put them in the chat, and then Rachel, when you feel you've got a break point somewhere, I don't know, 25 or 30 minutes into the presentation, we can stop and go through some of the questions that are there and then continue on to the end. Everyone, we're going to uh, put all of our training information, updates, notices after the presentation so that uh, Rachel can go ahead and get started. And I can't think of a lot of other things other than welcome. Welcome, Rachel. We will let you go ahead and share and get started.
All right. Hi, everyone. So nice to see you here on our virtual space. Excited to be here and talk to you guys today about citizen science. And I'm here with the Texas Nature Trackers with TPWD, but I'll get to that in just a second. Can everyone see my screen and hear me okay?
Yes, I think so. I see it.
Awesome, awesome. All right, we'll get to it. Like I mentioned, I'm part of a two-person team from Texas Nature Trackers with in the conservation squad, and it's Rachel Wright and Wendy Anderson, my counterpart. Oops, there it goes. And just kind of a little quick about me. I haven't been in my position too long. I just started last October. So, new to the division, loving it so far. I'm a biologist. I went to UTSA and got my master's in biology with an emphasis in ecology. I've had a lot of time spent on environmental education in various formats, universities, museums, all over the place. A lot of focus on watershed health. I did work at a river authority in San Antonio for a little while. And my professional interests are all over the place. I'm very classic, generalist, ecologist. I like things that involve lots of relationships and interactions. I really love pollination, trophic cascades, and of course, conservation. So here's kind of the team and its focus in my position, just kind of give you a little bit of background. We want to grow and enrich the naturalist community, which is a great opportunity to do that right here, and their experiences, and also to contribute to research and inform conservation. And so those two things together mean a lot of citizen science is happening. Like I mentioned, we're part of the conservation team. So that's the community stewardship and engagement team, which is under wildlife conservation program, along with several other subdivisions over there, like our non-game and rare species program, technical guidance, and our license and permitting, all working together to conserve wildlife. When we do citizen science, the data is ultimately intended to get to a higher and higher level, bigger and bigger databases to contribute to conservation research. And its end destination there is NatureServe, which is a North American wide database. So the data that you guys are contributing with participating in our project is going on to big and important things. Some of our projects here, let me see. So we track priority species for the Texas Natural Diversity Database through all of our citizen science projects. And, these are just some different various ways we do that with pollinator and entry-level bioblitzes, with City Nature Challenge, which is coming up in April. And of course, specific projects focusing on specific taxa, and camera trap projects is something we're trying to get going again. And then, of course, advanced projects just means something that is with the high level of training and expertise that is specific, usually to an area, of interest. One thing I kind of want everyone to think about as we go through the presentation is, what's motivating you? You're in this class, you're learning, and what's motivating you to volunteer your time as a citizen scientist? There's a lot of different reasons here. Really, for me, it's all of them in various different ways. But, your focus, is it really learning new things? Is it making a difference? Is it your health and your well-being? Or is it your connectedness with others? Kind of think about that and focus on it as you go through your training. There's, of course, a ton of benefits for citizen science, both to the participants and to those that benefit from all of that work and our environment, of course. People are drawn to explore their surroundings and they're curious about the place where they live. So participating in citizen science really supports that, especially with place-based education right there in your own backyards. And of course, having a public that can think critically is really, really good. So that's always a plus. Improving scientific skills, scientific literacy, just kind of taking away that, idea that science is scary or misleading or something like that, because you really understand what's going on. Very, very good. Bringing different diverse groups together, of course, right? The more diversity we have, the more different perspectives we have, the more we understand a problem from every angle. And then providing data that just can't be done without the help of citizen scientists. There is a massive amount of information that is needed. So it's important for the public to be involved. Sorry, guys, I have some terrible allergies going on, so excuse all my sniffling. You have to bear with me on that. Good old cedar pollen, ash juniper. Different levels of engagement for citizen science are available, right? It's what time you have, what abilities you have, and what goals you may have. So contributory is kind of the most common ongoing use of citizen science, where they're gathering and submitting data. There might be an organization that kind of guides it, like the Audubon, for example. So it takes a person's interest and kind of gives them an outlet for that can really help inform conservation. Or collaborative projects, which participants are going to be more deeply involved, maybe helping out with the direct data analysis or even project design. And, sometimes this even involves using the scientific method and coming up with like goals for the work. So every level of engagement is out there. If you're just at home and you're bored on your computer, you can contribute with lots of different online actions. Or if you want to, start a whole big project and fix a watershed that's been damaged in your area, you could do that too. Here are some different established projects that you could get started in. Christmas bird counts and North American breeding bird surveys. Lots of bird stuff out there. If you're a birder, citizen science is, the world is your oyster. There's a million different ways to get involved. eBird is popular as well. The CocoRAS, this is a little bit of a newer one. I haven't had much experience with it myself, but from what I understand, you download a kit that helps you to report precipitation data. And, it's a big widespread thing to help us gather more accurate information about that. So that seems fun. Something you can do at home too. And then phenology, which is kind of important to me and to everyone who's kind of interested in climate change nowadays. We want to track changes in things over time, like, for example, when a tree is first producing flower buds. That could be something that's tracked. Bud burst tracks that sort of thing, and it's really valuable information. And then, of course, iNaturalist, which I heard one of you is a first-time iNat poster today. Congratulations. You're going to love it. It's great. If anyone's ever been a Pokemon player, you might enjoy the similarities, or any kind of sort of game that is fun where you collect things. iNat is good. One question I get a lot in these sorts of presentations is, should we use the word community science instead of citizen science? And, I've been on both sides of the fence here on this one. Community science just seems more inclusive at first. You're kind of thinking about it, and well, it's a little bit of misnomer because you can do citizen science alone and you don't always, it's not always a community thing. And the community science is its own kind of term talking about a more specific thing. So, we're continuing to use the term citizen science. Here's a definition. It's really just any work undertaken by members of the general public or under the direction of professional scientists. And it's really about engagement of amateur naturalists in scientific investigations. That's not bad. Community science, there's just a lot of questions about whether or not it's a better term. These are some things you might think about. But to me, it seems more like your literal community coming together to create like a project to fix something locally. But, I just wanted to bring this up because it comes up a lot. It's been studied. It's been looked at from many different angles. There's lots of papers out there you can look into, but I think both terms are great. And I've also heard participatory science, which is nice, but it's a little bit of a mouthful. So citizen science usually has the best kind of use in social media and whatnot at getting attention. And that is something that we want to happen when we're doing citizen science, because you need a lot of data. But yeah, so something to think about. You can have your own conversations about that. Lots of people talk about it. Some have rebranded even to community science overall. So it's out there plenty, including I think the Wildflower Center, which is a great and wonderful place you should all visit. But whatever you decide to call it, really, it's about regularly engaging with your science community, aligning research and education with the priorities of that community. And it could be your local community, or it could be, the community at large, nationally, statewide, anything. Planning for management, co-management, and project design input, and keeps auto going forward. Sorry, guys. Or I'm clicking it without realizing it. And then one thing that we always try to do is to celebrate our participants' efforts and the results that are due to those efforts in the recruiting of new participants. And, participants really help recruit one another. So if you guys go out and do stuff, talk to one another about it, and, kind of help to contribute to that pipeline of labors of love for our conservation work. This is the approach that we take with our different volunteer opportunities at Texas Nature Trackers, which generally, and I don't speak for every chapter all the time, of course, because it's up to chapter leadership, but generally TNT activities are approved for volunteer hours. So a lot of these kinds of things might be interesting to you guys. But our tier 1 is kind of your lower barrier entry, like our iNaturalist projects. And we'll definitely talk about iNat a little bit more later in the presentation. Your City Nature Challenge, which is iNat based in your city. The Texas Pollinator BioBlitz in the fall, looking for all those pollinators out there. Those sorts of things, or even social media interaction can potentially count as volunteer work. Tier 2 is where most of our projects really lie. We have our bat acoustic monitoring project, which I'm managing. That's a statewide initiative, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. But mostly landowners or public sites, we deploy monitors there, and the master naturalists help us manage them, process the data, and all that good stuff. BioBlitzes, where we're going out to new locations. For example, the Government Canyon BioBlitz is coming up in April. We're going out to these locations that are under-surveyed and finding what's out there. So those are always really good time, and they count for hours, and usually a lot of them. So that's a great way to spend your time too, in a beautiful new place. We also have White Shaman Preserve coming up in late March, and then we're doing a single day at Enchanted Rock in late May. So more dates will be announced as they come up. Camera trapping, of course, this is for usually a chapter that has a specific kind of interest. Will to learn, hey, we think we have spotted skunks in this property or something, and they'll request the camera traps. There we go. And then we can learn about a species raised conservation need via that project. There's also loggerhead shrike, nest monitoring, nocturnal nightjar surveys, which we're trying to get going again. And then our tier 3, this is kind of even higher level work that might involve a lot of time, more training. These are going to be people that are self-motivated and really running things independently. The Great Texas Bat Bridge surveys would be a good example. Doing data analysis for many projects, or being an iNaturalist speaker. Ambassador program is what they have. We have kind of our version called the Speakers Bureau. All right, so these are some different ways that you can engage with nature trackers. There we go. We have our website, our social media. We offer these citizen science type trainings. And of course, the TMN Tuesdays, we're often on there. We had a little mini series going on for a while there back before my time. Maybe we'll get one going again, but you can always request a presentation from either myself or Wendy for any needs in the Master Naturalist goings on. And then we also have our annual meeting in the fall. This last year was great. It was my first week of employment to meet all these people, but it was really wonderful to kind of see the sheer, mass of like people that are interested in making our world a better place. So it was very inspiring. You can follow us on social media. I encourage you to do so. Wendy and I kind of take turns on posting our fun findings. We do like a photo Friday where we talk about an interesting photo or two from iNaturalist, something usually recent, kind of just keep you up to date on the fun observations. We do try to engage with the public about iNaturalist year round, all the time, with the City Nature Challenge, the Bio Blitzes, our Train the Trainers, which I haven't seen yet in my position, but that goes on sometime in the fall, I believe. And then, of course, again, the annual meeting, where we'll usually have several sessions for advanced iNaturalist usage, more advanced training. These are the current projects that the Texas Nature Tracker is running. If you haven't used iNaturalist, this will all make more sense in a minute when we go through kind of a more step-by-step what is it process. But these are projects that we manage and curate. So when people post a bird of Texas, it'll kind of get funneled into this project. Some of them you have to add your observations manually, and some go automatically. Kind of depends on the type of project that it is. Most of these have to be added by other curators, but they're a great way to keep track of like what we want to keep track of. So we're tracking nature, literally in the name. And right now I'm managing herps and mammals, and Wendy's kind of taking over the other ones as I get trained in this position. If you take an observation that is relevant to one of these projects, right, you upload it to iNaturalist, and then you can add it with the little bar over there on the right to the project. And again, this will make more sense in a bit if you haven't used it yet, but this is what I mean by the manual upload. Then that data gets taken from iNaturalist via these projects to our TNT volunteers, and they help to kind of curate the data, process it, remove things that maybe aren't supposed to be in there, and then they send that to the Texas Natural Diversity database. Here's our first dashboard from that data coming from the Herps of Texas iNaturalist project. And this dashboard just makes it easier for researchers to get the data that they need in kind of a streamlined way, ran through GIS, and it's available to the public, as well as, of course, to Texas Parks and Wildlife. Yeah, we're going to try to make something like this for each of these major taxa projects. So yeah, the overall goal is to get that data from the projects, especially focusing on any species that have a great conservation need. So our SGCNs, our species of greatest conservation need, you'll see that mentioned quite a bit. That is kind of the overall goal of Texas Nature Trackers, is to get information about those species. And then, of course, it goes to the Texas Natural Diversity Database, where they're going to do all kinds of great things with it, submit it to NatureServe, make products like that last one, the Herps of Texas dashboard, and just make this data useful for preserving our wildlife. This is the project that I took over management of in the fall. It is our bat acoustic monitoring project. It is a statewide project where Texas Master Naturalist chapters deploy bat monitors in their chapter areas, usually at a private landowner site, but sometimes also in public parks. And this year we can actually do state parks as well, as long as we have park permission. But we do have the permits, woohoo! So that's very exciting. Here's a little bit about the project. You guys can look at that while I take a drink of water. This project is very large. We have over 400 participants. So it might be the biggest citizen science project ran by TPWDA. I'm pretty sure it is. I might be forgetting something, but it's up there. And so we really want to engage our volunteers and advance their skills, fostering a community network. That's a given for sure. I'm trying to work on that one a little bit this year with some more mentoring between our chapters. We have conservation goals for the project, ultimately to submit the data to the North American Bat Monitoring Database, or NABAT. And they set the protocols that everybody really should be using for the different types of surveys, including stationary acoustic monitoring, which this one is. And we're trying to adhere to those protocols a little more firmly this year as well, so we can submit the best quality data we can to NABAT. Because we want to save these little guys. They're adorable. I want to save them. And over 50% of our bat species in Texas are threatened with loss of their population for many different reasons. They are species of greatest conservation need. So the way this project works is that chapters are the local hubs. There's a coordinator, there's a monitor, and there's a data analyst, or multiple of each of those. And they have training, and then they go out and they deploy the monitors and collect the data, analyze it, send it to me, and then I get it ready and send it to NABAT. So it's a great project.
Rachel, this is Michael. One, to give you a moment to rest your voice.
Thank you. Yes.
And two, to let you know, the Heartwood chapter participated in the last bat acoustic monitoring project, and we have at least a couple of folks in the chapter that signed up and got the training for the data analysis.
That's great. Yeah.
And I don't know if you met yet Gerald Geisler, who was one of our members and former vice president of programs. He's does a lot of work in this space and managed that acoustic monitoring project. Okay. And I think they're lined up when it regenerates in terms of people that can go out and do all the things you just talked about, setting and gathering the monitors. So just kind of give you a little break there.
Yeah, no, thank you. I've been struggling with this this recent release of all the pollen. So yeah, a lot of talking today also, guys, but doing my best. I'm hanging in there. The project is really great. I'm glad to see that we have people, involved. I can't see the chat right now, just FYI. So if anybody's like, hey, I'm trying to talk to you, I can't see that, but I'll be happy to look through it at the end. We do have trainings coming up, and there should be, the coordinator that you mentioned would have the information if you want to get involved. I do look, if this will work. It doesn't work, my little pictures here, but I will say that if you're going to be interested in joining the project, we'll both be new together because I have, taken over right in the middle of this project from Craig, and it's a big project. So I'm still learning all of the different ins and outs of it and trying to get it organized and stuff. I always like to throw this out there because, scientists are real people and they struggle with all this stuff, especially with new classes coming in. Just try to keep it real, it is a struggle sometimes. I will say though, we're having great participation and it looks like this year is turning out to be a good one. We have a bunch of new joining chapters, which I didn't get a chance to put on this map, but several chapters that weren't able to participate before are going to join it. So there'll be even more of the state covered. One slide I wish I had in here right now is the one that shows how little data there was about bat distribution kind of prior to this. We're starting to get more attention on it, but it was almost none for summer occupancy in the state. So it's a very important project. This is another one that's contributing to that data, specifically focusing on bridge roosts. So Wendy Anderson's project here is the Great Bat Bridge Project, and she works with TxDOT as a partner. So they're using this data to make kind of decisions about highway things potentially. I've even heard rumors that they might make bridge pieces with special crevices for the bats. And basically what you do is you go out and you go to a bridge and see if there's bats in it. And the bridges are all mapped out to, ones that need to be checked and ones that have been checked. And there's been a lot of bats. This might be a little bit outdated of a map, but this is the goal, is to cover many counties. The way it works is we use survey 123 at the sites, kind of just go through the different questions associated with the location of the bridge. So it's a GIS kind of application. And then it can go on to many different places, including the TXNDD again, like I mentioned, TxDOT, a dashboard like the Herbs of Texas one that is still under construction, and to our state bat biologist, Sam Liebers. So it's going to a lot of places, and they have been finding a ton of bats and have had great participation. I think the last survey day they did I think it was 300 bridges in Houston. So I think they found 16 or so with bats. Not bad. Here's kind of a picture of what the map would look like. Excuse me. In the dashboard. Not sure if this is available publicly yet, but it will be if it's not. I think it might be only on our end currently, but you can see them in the app, of course, to know where to go survey. I'm frozen. There it goes. Wendy has presented about this many times. Let's just kind of talk about another way we use the data for these sorts of initiatives is to spread that information at conferences, to other specialists, other individuals, so they can learn from all of our work. Does anybody are there any questions I should answer before moving on, or do we need a break? I know you said maybe about 30 minutes.
We just had one question about, aren't we doing that in Houston? And you answered it. Oh,
great. Yeah. Perfect. Yes, we are. And it's going very well there. I think they just had their last field day until May. So if you have, you have time to get involved before the next one.
And we've had folks, I think if Kim is on, she participated in that survey in the past. And we have a question about who do we email to get involved?
That would be Wendy Anderson for sure. And her email would be wendy.anderson@tpwd.texas.gov. I think I also have it at the end, but I can put it in the chat if not.
And for our interns, I have her address also.
So
Yeah, it's easy to find.
yeah, she's not hard to track down. None of us are.
Okay, so any other questions that you want to put in the chat? Let's see.
Oh, I got it to pop up. That's great. I can put her email in there.
So we'll let.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't see any other right now.
Okay, perfect. I'll move that over out of the way here. All right, so here's another one of our programs. From kind of my understanding, again, haven't been there that long, haven't been in the program that long, but chapters in the past have taken these kits out and deployed them to look for specific species of greatest conservation need. Typically, mammals are going to be given a priority, or just kind of, mammal projects are maybe a little better suited for the cameras. Sometimes you can get a good bird or something, but it's a little harder to see, small stuff like snakes or things that are on the ground. Birds move fast, so mammals are usually the best for these kinds of things. And the only thing we really require is to take good care of the equipment and that you share the results so that we can get those, rare photos of whatever's walking around in your property. We really are interested in spotted skunks right now. And well, things that are probably up more in the panhandle, like swift fox. But if you want to see the full list of species of greatest conservation need, it'll be on the statewide wildlife action plan website, and it'll be the most up-to-date list. And then here's our kind of official full definition of an SGCN. We do have both plant and animal species that are in this, plenty of plants actually. They have to be declining or rare and in need of attention to recover or to prevent the need to list under a state or federal regulation. So something can become listed and it's still an SGCN, but for the most part, they're becoming SGCNs because we're like worried about them. We don't want them to get listed. We don't want them to become threatened or endangered. And the state taxes specialists, for instance, the state bat specialist, state herpetologist, et cetera, they're pretty important to deciding what is considered an SGCN. Here's a few examples here. Our horned lizard, of course, loggerhead shrike, the ocelot, swift fox, whooping crane, all kinds of things are declining, and we can focus our efforts on them, finding them, and slowing it down. Here's an example of what that would look like to go find the state wildlife action plan. You do want to go here. There's another like online kind of portal that you can go to, but this one's going to be more up to date. I don't think the portal has the 2025 list, so just heads up on that. Or maybe it might be 2023, but one will be coming out for 2025. Here's an example of a way to filter in iNaturalist when you're looking at the different creatures around you by SGCNs. So you can see if you have any in your backyard. And that's through a URL query, which you can find on their kind of tutorial pages. Or if anybody wants to know, you can email me and I can give you the query. That's usually more of a advanced INET kind of training thing, but I'm just mentioning this because it can be done and it's interesting. And now from here on, the presentation is kind of focused on using iNaturalist. So let's take another step here. Let you guys, if you have the app and you want to open it, feel free to do that. Might be helpful. All right.
I have just a quick question.
Sure.
I'll take my co-host privileges and ask the question.
Yeah, yeah.
I have both the iNat Classic and the new iNat. Is it loaded? Is is there a preference one over the other?
I have both on my phone as well. I like some of the features of the new app, but sometimes it's glitchy. I'll just say it. They're trying to fix some issues with that. So I keep both. And if it doesn't work, I use the old one. I use the classic.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
absolutely. I have heard the Android version maybe is better. I don't have an iPhone, so I can't speak to that necessarily, but I've heard maybe. So these slides, I will say, are from iNat. They're kind of their intro slides. I have switched out some photos here and there, not this one, of course, but for my own photos, and just to kind of follow their branding for what they want right now for the iNat ambassadors. So this is a goal or a challenge, I guess, is the way we're wording it. That as climate change and habitat destruction accelerate, we have over 1 million species facing threat of extinction this century. So we have a lot of need for engaged people and for information to guide effective conservation. This kind of thing is like, it's hard to think about sometimes. It can be overwhelming. I know I struggle with it, but it is why we're all doing this, right? So it's a good thing to think about. It's the challenge. And how we address this challenge is by bringing more people in, making sure more people are informed and involved in more places, and learning about more species, finding them, protecting them, all that good stuff. A naturalist is a really powerful tool to help us do that. It isn't just a fun game to kind of learn, hey, what's that? Hey, what's that? All of that is a big part of it. We're identifying species, and that data is used to help them, to protect them. It helps people engage in the world around them. All you need is a smartphone or camera. I don't want to date myself, but I remember when I was a kid and everybody didn't have phones in their pocket. It was a very different time. The world has changed so much, and now we have this powerful tool, and basically every person has it. It's really something that we should be using to its best ability, I think, right? If there was ever a use for a smartphone that I could support, it would be this. And it helps us to accelerate biodiversity science and conservation, right? We're crowdsourcing. We're doing something that's impossible without the support of people. It would just be too costly. So crowdsourcing this data set is really important. How it works. Here's a quick video. I don't know if it doesn't have sound or it's just not doing sound. Well, we're in this for the visuals anyways. So you're taking a photo, you click, what is this? It basically gives you a prediction based on the algorithm of how the other photos of that thing look. You can add in important information. You can add more photos. Notes are always nice. Geoprivacy basically is, can other people see this? Captive, cultivated, right? We want wild things. We don't want necessarily someone's flower bed. And then there you go. You have an observation of a thing in a place that has, specific important details. that can be used in a database to learn about each organism. And I will say that there are other apps out there. I know people use like Google Lens and stuff like that, but those things are not often based on the specific location where you are, where you're taking that photo, and whether or not that's the correct range for what the algorithm is coming up with. So this works way better than those other sort of applications do. And then the observation is visible to the iNaturalist community. And this is really kind of how it works so well. The community can come in and they can tell you if that identification is correct or not. They can confirm, yes, that's definitely a Western pond hawk. I've seen that before. I know what that is. Or they can say, actually, you don't have enough information to know that it's that. We're going to back that up to genus. We don't know enough to say that it is a Western pond hawk. We only know it's a pond hawk, right? That kind of thing. And so these other people that have specific interests can come on there and help you learn, and also help the data get categorized in the place that it should be, in species that it should be. And all really it takes is a photo. As long as you have your location enabled, you just take that photo and you can upload it. You can also take photos and upload them later if you will have like a fancy camera and you want to do that. And uploading them on the website is very different, but kind of useful if you have a lot of photos you want to upload, because you can do it in a batch. You can also do sounds. I wouldn't recommend using iNat for like bird sounds as much as Merlin Bird ID, but it's still useful if you want to record something real quick and post it. If it's a good quality recording, absolutely. I've identified interesting looking cicadas that way, so it can definitely work. And so the great thing about the app is that it is so widespread. It's literally the world's largest citizen science project. So it has an insane amount of photos with IDs attached to them. So it's easy to find, or it works very well to tell you what species it thinks you have, right? So machine learning. I hate to say AI, but right. Again, if anything should be used for, or iNat is the best use of that. And it works very well based on your photo and your location. The more photos you have of like different angles of it, the flower, the leaves, you want to get the whole plant to different angles, maybe even have like your hand in there slightly for scale. All those things can help get the right ID, or get the right ID later from other people. And of course, you can add your own ID if you definitely know what it is, or if you have a pretty good idea of what it is. There's literally nothing wrong with thinking like, well, I'm pretty sure it's this, because somebody will tell you otherwise if it's incorrect. And it's okay. It's a very like positive place. Nobody's screaming and cursing, or I've never seen any like questionable comment behavior on iNaturalist. It's all just really like, learning is nice. So I find it a very positive community, and you learn a ton. If you just want to go on iNaturalist and identify stuff and not post, that's a great use of your time, a great way to learn, and it's something that is really needed, because a lot of people like to observe and not identify. So more identifiers are needed. So after your observation is uploaded, of course, people can identify it. As you have like basically 2/3 of comments saying that it's the same thing, then it goes to research grade. And people usually put that filter on if they are going to use the data for something in the professional space, for ecology or conservation research especially. So it's good to have enough information to get those confirmations. Like I mentioned, iNat is a humongous community, over 3.5 million people. So that's quite a few people. around the world. And 415,000 identifications to observations have been added. So we got to get the identifications numbers up a little bit, but I mean, I've never had an issue not getting an ID on something, except for if it was really obscure or it was kind of like a bad photo or something like that. Generally, you'll get IDs. I wanted to just kind of put some local examples of what INAT would look like. So I was on the computer. So this is the desktop version of kind of my personal map of Texas, where my observations are clustered. You can see I enjoy exploring the desert and Edwards Plateau. This Willet box is kind of in the way there, but you have a map like this. Every person who posts on INAT will have a map like this. You can filter it down, to a state, a city, a county. You can filter it in all kinds of different ways to learn about whatever you want. Here's another different way to look at it. So if you don't want to look at the map, you can look at species. You can look at observations as thumbnails. It's kind of the same way you would look at files in a folder, but you can also look at it as map view. So this is just an example of some of my species. I put these here instead of the other ones because they're a little more recognizable here in Texas. Saw green jays again recently, traveling down to Choke Canyon. Love those birds. They're so pretty. INAT is very extensively used. As you can see here, there are very few places that don't have any, observations. If you zoomed into anywhere here, you could find smaller areas that still need surveying and whatnot. Texas is so vast, plenty of it still needs to be surveyed, but the overall spread is pretty extensive. So you can learn about what's in any place on Earth, not just Texas, which is very fun. So I envy some of you for exploring this for the first time, because you can just get lost in learning about, a beautiful place that you've always wanted to explore by just looking at the photos of the plant life and the animal life that's there. It's very, very satisfying. Here's one of the examples of our Texas Nature Tracker projects. And this is also just kind of what a project will look like if you click on one. Projects organize observations either by location, organization, a specific bioblitz that happens, over a 3-day span perhaps, or even by taxa. So rare plants for this example. And just kind of gives it a place where these observations that are useful to the people that made the project can be gathered. There's also typically managers and curators of these projects. And if people have the expertise to, be a curator of a project, they can always reach out to me or Wendy, and you can actually be like, this person did find this plant, I'm going to correct this ID, or you can take out things that don't belong, right? Do some kind of project housekeeping, and that's usually going to be worth volunteer hours. Again, it is up to the chapters, but generally we don't have an issue with it. And it's something that is really valuable. Here's a map of the rare plants of Texas on INAT. They're spread out all over the place, of course. And then here's just a few examples of some rare plants. So you can go to a project and you can look at the observations that are filtered within that project, such as this rare plants one. If you just want to know what plants in Texas are considered rare and where are those plants. A lot of times these sorts of observations will be obscured so that you might not know the exact location, but the project owners can, so they can use that information for research, but those plants, won't get dug up by people that want to sell them. Unfortunately, that is a problem with a lot of our rare cacti, especially. So if you do find a rare plant out there and when you're exploring, do definitely post it, but there's a little box you can tick called obscured, and it helps to protect that plant's precise location. So iNaturalist, you probably get the idea now, is very large and very impactful. That's that second part of their kind of two-part goals there, is to accelerate the process of biodiversity science and conservation. So enabling the conservation powers that be to get their job done, really. Spend a lot of time researching. So anything to lessen that can really help. Also, getting outside, right, is really good for us. It's good to be connected to nature. It's good to spend time in the outdoors. There's more and more research about that green space deficit being really detrimental to our health. So, if iNaturalist makes it, that much more fun or engaging to get outside and be there for a reason. I know sometimes I have to be like, but do I really want to go, to the park or whatever? iNat just kind of like makes it a little bit more exciting. Maybe there's something cool that I can see. I also do this with eBird. I'll be like, well, what's on eBird? Is there anything interesting that's been spotted at the park recently? It just gets you a little bit more engaged in going out there, getting that green space time, getting that fresh air and exercise. And then, of course, building community around nature. This is an example of that. You're doing Texas Master Naturalist. You want to be in a community like this. And iNat's a great way to do that. I encourage you guys to share your iNat IDs with each other. You can follow each other. And it just makes it a little bit more fun, a little more interesting. Some of you may be competitive. I am not really, but some people really enjoy that aspect. If you are on iNat, you may know Sam Biology. His name may be familiar to you. That's actually one of TPWD's urban wildlife biologists. So he's up in Dallas, Fort Worth, and he's a very outspoken iNat supporter and a huge user. He was at one point in time the top poster in Texas. I'm not sure if he still holds the title, but he was for a minute there. All right. Oh, here's just another example of, a community impact. If there's a space nearby that you have a special interest in, using iNat can kind of be a way to track work that is being done. Maybe some restoration work that's going on, and you want an easy way to kind of keep track of the increase in biodiversity, the restoration efforts, and that's a great way to do that. You may not even have to increase those efforts. Sometimes it can be as easy as looking back in time on iNaturalist and just using those date filters to see the change. It supports biodiversity. There have been hundreds of undescribed species that are now documented. There have been lost species recovered because of iNaturalist. Such an easy way to share and to give that precise location that it's just, easier to get that ID. Like this lost bird species that was unseen for 55 years in Papua New Guinea, which is really cool. It is the largest data set for global diversity, 6 million new observations per month. That is insane. Here's our iNat observation map. The US is pretty big into iNat, but it is growing extensively. There's lots of papers published all the time using iNaturalist data. This is over 1,000 studies in 2024 using iNaturalist data. So, I mean, things were a little harder before iNaturalist to get your data for your work. Not that people aren't still going out there in the field and doing ground truthing work, but it's nice that it's an option. And of course, sometimes it can lead to really big conservation outcomes. This elm zigzag fly is a great example. This was posted by Matthew Zappa, and they were able to identify it as an invasive species. So, you can kind of follow certain things that we would otherwise have no idea. And then all of a sudden we're noticing, symptoms of that invasion instead of seeing, hey, it's here. What can we do about it now? And lastly, every observation is important, right? Whether it's as cool as this mountain lion in Big Bend just this last October, or this common grackle in Victoria, which is actually pretty interesting. And believe it or not, common grackles are a species of greatest conservation need. But every single observation is important because it tells a story of the ecology of that area. And it's really, really valuable information. To kind of show you guys quickly what the impact of these sort of events where we have a lot of people posting on INAT together at one time can be, I have this map that one of our Texas Master Naturalists made after the annual meeting last October. And this is showing INAT usage in Texas. The annual meeting counties are in green there. And that's 25% of all the observations made in Texas over the 4 days of the conference. And the reason that's so high is we had several bioblitzes and activities where the Texas Master Naturalists were outside and posting on iNaturalist and using iNaturalist. The Slick Creek Park, Slick Creek Park there was the biggest bioblitz. And it wasn't our biggest bioblitz ever or anything, but it still made up a huge proportion of the observations. So these sorts of things really matter and they really have a big impact. Another example would be our Devil's River trip. This trip was amazing. So also not that long after I started, they're like, we're going to go to this Texas Master Naturalist conference, and then you're going to come back for a week, and then you're going to go right out and enjoy this amazing place. It was very awesome. They just opened it for camping. So the campsites were barely constructed by the time we got there. We're the first group ever to camp there. Woohoo! And this is one of the most pristine, actually the most pristine, as in clean water sources in Texas. It is amazing. It's crystal clear, cold. It's this oasis out in the desert, and it has lots of species of greatest conservation need. So we took a group of about 40 volunteers out there. Some were Texas Master Naturalists, some were college students, some were Texas Parks and Wildlife staff. I think there were about 5 or 6 of us. And we went out there and we looked for what was there. We did camera surveys, we did bat acoustic monitoring surveys, we did aquatic surveys looking for fish with our seine nets and our dip nets. We did lots of hikes looking for rare plants, lots of birding. And we found over 6,000 observations. This was put together a little bit before some had been finalized. We saw over 1,000 unique taxa and 17 different species of greatest conservation need. So it went very well. And we even got some interesting recordings of bats out there, including the ghost-faced bat. So, we don't know for sure that it was there because acoustic recordings can be questionable, but it was a pretty high quality recording. So it is definitely possible. And this is the kind of thing that we're bringing trained volunteers like Texas Master Naturalists together with our team, using the tool of iNaturalist to just, majorly impact the knowledge and the knowledge barrier that researchers have about this space and what to do about it. And it's critical now because we have things happening like a pipeline is potentially going in right through there. Not good. So, who knows, right? Maybe the fact that there's 17 species of greatest conservation need in there is the thing that convinces whomever not to put that pipeline there. Obviously, there's complex legal happenings and whatnot, but this information could be very important. And it was very fun. We had such a great time. So that's a big part of it, especially if you like being rugged and doing science and being nerdy together. it's pretty great. So almost done. I do want to just encourage everybody to think about all of the different ways you can contribute. There's not just one way. It can be slow and steady at your own pace. You can use websites like Zooniverse projects. I love going on Zooniverse if I'm bored. You can look at, camera trap photos to help ID things from around the world. You can look at photos of old, museum collections and help ID random little tiny bees from 100 years ago, or all kinds of weird projects they have going on. It's very fun. You can do iNaturalist identifications. You can monitor monarchs, right? Then there's stuff that's really hands-on in person, rugged work, going out doing bioblitzes, doing restoration work, removing invasive species. Lots of local city parks and river authorities will have events where you can go and do that kind of thing. Excuse me. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. And don't limit yourself because you have one experience and it was just oh, so boring or too intense or what have you, because there's a million different ways to be involved. I do have to show this code because I am a Texas Parks and Wildlife person, and we get some of our funding from the government. So this is a voluntary survey, but if anybody can and wants to scan it, it's just a couple of questions about demographics mostly, and it helps us get funding. So I'll leave that there for a minute, and then I have one more slide with my my email and also my iNaturalist user ID. So here we go. So you guys can look me up on iNat and see what I have. There's a barred owl from the Cibolo Nature Center that we see once in a while. You'll find them on my iNat for sure. Yes, thank you very much for having me on here.
Thank you, Rachel. I was just looking for any questions that came in last minute. There's people are starting to share their iNaturalist IDs. They're there, and there's a question on project name for rare plants, but they found their answer. They're resourceful folks. And then someone said a lot of us really enjoyed the Texas Nature Trackers video walks in various places on Instagram. Or are you going to restart those?
We have been talking about getting our social media game back online, so you may see some videos.
Okay. So we can at least give you positive feedback that they were appreciated.
Glad to hear that you liked them. So it's good to know.
So anyone else questions you want to put in the what am I trying to say? In the
chat.
In the chat, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see any at the moment, but someone asked to email for the query code for rare plants. So they could email you and get that information.
Yeah, if you want to. You can also just on iNat, one of the options at the top, if you go to the website, is community, and then it'll be projects. You can search for us on there too.
Okay. A quick question about, is iNaturalist and Seek the same?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. Seek is a little bit different. It does use kind of the same algorithm, but you don't have to have an account to use it. It's great for kids. I don't find that it's quite as accurate with its IDs. And some of the features are going to be much more limited. So Seek is also, it doesn't share it to the bigger databases where it's really going on to do the important work, right? Yeah. So it's a great learning tool. It's really great for children. It's more private, and they don't have to share their locations and things like that.
And last, Wendy asked a question about camera traps. You mentioned loaner cameras. If we have our own game camera, would we be able to submit pics somewhere if we catch the species of greatest concern?
Absolutely. You could submit them directly to the Mammals of Texas project, Or if you don't, feel comfortable with that for whatever reason, you could also just send them directly to me or to Dana Carolus. She's the state mammal specialist, but I could also just forward them on for you. But yeah, we would love that.
Okay. All right. Well, we thank you. Hope your voice survived.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks. Yeah, it'll be okay. I gotta take
I,
more clonings.
I suspect if we'd ask, we'd find all kinds of good herbal remedies from this group to send to you, but hot tea and honey usually works. So,
Yeah, that is my go-to usually,
okay.
the raw local honey and everything.
Okay. Well, Rachel, thank you. You're welcome to stay on. We're going to do some boring stuff, at least not as exciting as iNap. So,
Well,
so
that's
thank you.
okay. No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. So for the rest of you, if you'll hang on for a moment, we have just a few items to go through. Um, let's see. First off, one, Roxanne has asked, and we all have, if you have key takeaways from this or those previous couple of presentations we've been on, drop them into the chat box, and we'll capture them there for any key takeaways associated with that, and we can add to our list. Brenda is on. Are you still with us, Brenda? If you can unmute. Brenda Reeves wants to do a little in versus minute of opportunity, which we'll do on the next session. Brenda wants to talk a little bit about outreach. Let's see, are you still there? There you are, and you're unmuted.
Yeah.
So it's all yours, Brenda.
Okay. Hi, you guys. Like you said, my name is Brenda Reeves. I don't know if is the video showing? I don't even know.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I'm like, I can't even tell on I've got two screens going. I just want to touch base with you guys. I do the outreach. So I organize the little boxes that we take out to the booths. I set up the booths at the events. Unfortunately, I've been really, really busy, so I haven't actually been able to be at the booths a lot. And I'm looking for a few committee members that would be interested in helping me organize the outreach events to participate and set up the booths, to come up with ideas. As for an example, we're doing in March, we have a big event coming up called the if I can talk right, Mercer March Mart, and it's a plant sale out at Mercer Gardens. It's for 3 days, and those 3 days are going to be full of activities and stuff. And so I'd like to have a few people that can come out with me, talk about pollinators, talk about what we do, STMNs, and our outreach program here. And yeah, so I'm just looking for people that like to talk, like to meet new people, are interested in spreading the word about citizen science and all the things that we do. So if you guys don't mind, just reach out to me at the heartwoodoutreach.com, and I'll get back to y'all. I would like to try to get it set up where we do a meeting a month. If that's too much for some people, we can change it. We can do Zoom meetings. We can do meetings in person. There's a need for someone who can go up to the classroom and work on collecting pamphlets and things like that we're running short of, that we might need to make copies of, to file those things away, to make sure the outreach boxes are full and ready for the next outreach event. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's about it. If anybody has any questions, shoot away. I've been doing this for the past 2 years. And then I've been a TMN member, volunteer since 2019. So if anybody has any questions or comments, that's all I have to say. So
we do have a question. Repeat the date for, I assume it's I'm not even going to try the Mercer March Mart.
Yeah, the Mercer March Mart. And I just did the sign up genius for it. And so hopefully this next week it'll be on the calendar. It is going to be March 19th, 20th, and 21st. On the 19th, that's a Thursday, it's an evening. So setup time is around 3:30 p.m. and it lasts till 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday, it's from 7 a.m. setup. Event starts at 8 and it's still 3 p.m. in the afternoon, both of those days. I'm not asking for somebody to be there the entire time. That's why we need more volunteers and so forth with the outreach. I usually set it up so it's 2-hour increments. So if you come in and do the 7 to 9 or 7 to 10, somebody else will come in and do the 10 to 12 and things. We usually like to do them in pairs, so we keep each other company, and we have a relief person. And we also need creative minds, because a lot of the times on these outreach booths, not only are we talking to the parents and trying to educate people on pollinators and what we do here at Heartwood, but we also try to educate the younger people. We try to engage the younger crowd and let them, experience what it might be like. So we have a lot of, and I hate to use the word toys, but we do. We have like a lot of little coloring books and coloring stories. And so if you've got a creative mind and you can come up with crafts and things like that, the younger crowd can participate and do. I find it's a great way to connect with the parents and just talk about what we do. So anyway.
So if you haven't been to Mercer Arboretum, it's a treat just going there. We are going there. We're going there April 25th for a class, but this will give you a chance to go early, and it's worth it to go volunteer than just go walk around.
Yes, it's beautiful out there. Yes. And it usually draws a big crowd, so the more the merrier. I know that for some it's an easy drive, and for others it's not such an easy drive. So I also can arrange carpooling if anybody's interested. Usually just meet up at Jones Forest and we figure that out. But yeah, and if anybody wants to be on the committee, just shoot me an email.
All right. Thanks, Brenda. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Volunteer opportunities abound.
Yes, yes, and we're getting more and more.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is just some announcements. Our next class is March 5th. It's on meteorology, climate, and weather. It is another Zoom class from 7 to 9. It is with Nelson Gaiman. Why do I never remember his name? It is with John Nielsen Gaiman, who is a state meteorologist. It's really great that we are able to get him for the presentation, because he's well known in the state, quoted lots of places, and a great opportunity to learn about climate in Texas. Next in-person class is on the March 21st at W.G. Jones, back to the forest. We're going to talk about forest ecosystems, and then we're going out into the forest to look for the red cockaded woodpecker. So that is a good one to bring. If you've got a fancy camera, bring it. You've got binoculars, bring them. And I know last year we actually caught one, not literally, but on film. So I wanted to make everyone aware there have been some primarily cosmetic changes that happened to the VMS system this week that kind of came out as a surprise. You can still enter your hours the same way. That piece of the application works the same. The skin of it looks a little bit different when you come in. An improvement, I think, is that you can look at you can enter information, and there is a tab on the same page where you can tab over and see all of your entries and see whether they, rather than on a big spreadsheet looking thing that they used before, they're much easier to follow. And you can see what has been approved and not approved, regardless of the type of volunteer or AT that you entered. So they list them differently. I think when I looked at it today, they added some potential things for me at the end of my opportunities that I've entered. So it may be they're doing a little predictive, here's some things you might like, kind of a Netflix view of the world. So I would suggest you go in there and look at them. If you have any questions, let us know and we can help and show those, show any issues that came up. But go give it a shot first. Anyone that wants to submit a project form, do so. You don't have to yet, but just reminder, the next chapter meeting is March 11th. And it's Insects in the Dark is primarily what it is. It is with Mary Spolyar. I think I'm saying that correctly. I don't know. The topic is Night Wings Over the Prairie, Insect Life After Dark. Should be really interesting what she found. She's observed from 3 Houston area prairies. So that is going to be the meeting on March 11th. We'll be at the Grady Library, which is in the old Grogan's Mill Center. That information is on the website. Starts at 6 for social hour. 6:30 is beginning of the class. 7 o'clock is typically when the speaker starts. So you get both volunteer hours for coming to the chapter meeting, and you get an hour of advanced training that you can put in. So that's a good thing. And last, and I don't know if it's full yet, but I'm going to advertise it anyway. There's a field trip for members going to the Ratcliffe Lake Recreational Area in Davy Crockett National Forest on March 7th. And we don't have a class on March 7th, I don't believe. They were capping it at 25, and there's carpool required. If you have any, if you want to find out about it, go to the website and look for the field trip information to Ratcliffe Lake. So there's also a chance for AT with TMN Tuesday is March 10th. That's Tuesday at noon, 1 hour. You can eat your lunch while you listen. And we got some information. Martha says 10 people have signed up, 5 drivers and 5 riders. So I believe 25 was the limit. So there's room if anyone would like to go. And as we see in the notes, the project form is in your blue manual that you got when you got your book. So any questions? That was a lot of information.